What's the fastest way you've seen someone duck up their life? There was one young woman. Initially she was pulled over for speeding, which isn't all that bad, just a traffic citation. Then the officers noticed she was drunk, still not terrible as it was misdemeanor DUI, but you still end up spending the night in the tank. As she's being arrested she resists, and during the struggle she kicks one deputy in the face, which ended up blinding him in one eye because she happened to be wearing high heels. She went from a simple speeding ticket to a DUI to felony assault in the space of about 30 minutes. Damn, I wish I didn't have one for this. At Snowshoe doing some skiing with buddies. We're at the top and I overhear a little girl, 10 to 12, in blue ski pants and a white puffy coat complaining about her helmet being uncomfortable. Dad comes over and adjusts it, but the girl continues to complain. They make a plan, Dad and brother start to go one way, girl stays with Mom. I hear clear as day from Dad, the helmet stays on or you stay in the lodge. As soon as the father is out of sight her mother tells her just to go toss it in her bag and that Mom will deal with Dad later about it. Day goes on, we ski, wreck, get soaked, have fun. It's sometime towards dinner and we're at the bottom of the hill planning on one more run before we grab a bite to eat. The sun is low, it's cloudy, the lights are starting to turn on. There's an ear-piercing scream as a young girl in blue pants and a white puffy jacket comes hurtling out of control through the flats and head first into a cement anchor for the lift line. The sounding was sickening, the whole crowd seemed to drop silent as she hit with a sick wet thud. Someone behind me puked. I do not know if she made it, I know she didn't move again while ski patrol loaded her onto a board with a neck brace. I also don't know if a helmet would have even helped. But damn. Edit, I had to know, so I went through all my old email and papers. I think my trip was February 2008. So either she survived or it wasn't reported. My sister. Had a great job, husband who loved her, beautiful baby girl. Made a friend at work. Friend convinced her to cheat time from the company, fired from her job. She enrolls in school, trying to make her life better. Meets a friend who gets her addicted to bath salts. Sister is caught shoplifting from the store where I work. I eventually quit because management let it be known that I would never be trusted again. Sister pops out kid 2, eventually spends all the money for rent on drug. Her and her husband, plus 2 kids have to move into a single bedroom in my parents' house. Sister gets further into drugs, now using coke. Pops out kid 3 during that timeline. She finally found meth. Meth is her whole world now. She has stolen and cheated everyone in her life, taught her kids to lie etc. so she can get her next fix. The final nail in the coffin. While my 85-year-old gran was on vacation, my sister broke into gran's house, stole thousands of dollars and let her dealer live there for a week. They trashed the place and stole the engagement ring my grandfather gave her. He died of cancer before I was born. And other family items that are worthless except to her. My gran is sick right now. We all know my sister did this and the police are looking into it. But likely my gran is going to die knowing her granddaughter did this to her and without these items ever being recovered. My sister feels no remorse. Even when shown evidence that we know she did it, she lies. Guy I went to school with about 10 years ago, set his house on fire for insurance money with the intention of getting out his stepfather, but mercy killing his own mother who had terminal cancer. It was idiotic at best and evil at worst. The problem was his stepdad never got out and he died too. And the cops could tell it was him because he had gasoline burns on his hands. So since he was 16 when he did, he got double involuntary manslaughter and won't be released until he's 35. Cousin started using heroin. 7 months later he died from OD. Had a guy get busted for drinking and driving during his first month at his new base, Air Force. He was a brand new airman and his leadership spun the story that he was young, learned his lesson, etc. and managed to let him stay in. He lost a stripe and got paperwork but could continue his career. No less than a month later, he gets another DUI. Bam, career over, out of the Air Force, no chance to ever rejoin. Oh, and a bit of jail time and a suspended driver's license. So what do you think he does? He goes to a party, gets shit-faced drunk, grabs his keys and tries to drive home without a license. Cops catch him. Third DUI within just a few months period, with a suspended license, resulting in several months in jail and basically no chance of employment. Not as bad as some of the stories here, but it was pretty crazy to see someone's brand new career fall to pieces so fast, even with good leadership. Happened in Tucson, Arizona. Not wearing a helmet when doing BMX tricks. He was doing a grind down a handrail and went over the outside of the rail from about 15 stairs up and landed on his head. Now he can't speak correctly, can't focus, and he gets mad easily and often. Brain injuries are terrifying, and doing things like wearing a helmet when biking or wearing your seatbelt when driving are such a no-brainer to me after seeing how it has affected people around me. A freshman at my university posted an anonymous thread on Yik Yak about a month after he started. The threat was something like, "No one go to X building tomorrow at 7 p.m. tomorrow, you've been warned." He gets arrested that night or the next morning and gets a 10-year sentence for threats and terroristic threats. He wasn't even serious. He thought it was a joke or didn't want to go to a quiz/test that day. I guess he didn't go, so mission sort of accomplished. Went to a rave with some friends the summer after high school. One of my friends was approached by a guy selling ecstasy, and my friend bought like 10 pills off of him. Ever the entrepreneur, he immediately turned around and tried to sell them to someone else. The first person he asked happened to be an undercover cop. My brother has a schizophrenic girlfriend who refuses to take her meds, and he thinks he can fix her. He has nothing in his life but her, can't leave her alone, so she even goes to work with him most of the time. If she doesn't go, she calls him every 30 minutes. The only reason he still has a job is he works for a family member. I did heroin yesterday. I am not a drug user and have never done anything besides pot back when I was a teen, AMA. This guy's post history is singularly the most insane thing I've ever read on Reddit. Bride at my cousin's wedding got caught by groom's father ducking the best man. She's homeless now. Reputation was destroyed and she got fired for something else. Guy from my high school had a baby girl in his early 20s. The baby was still an infant and wouldn't stop crying. He tried rocking her, but it wasn't working and he got frustrated. I don't know the specifics of what happened, but the baby finally stopped crying, but was unresponsive. Took her to the hospital and they found that she had shaken baby syndrome and the baby later passed away. He lied to police and the doctors about having anything to do with it initially, but later admitted to shaking the baby when he was frustrated. Was found guilty of neglect that resulted in death of a dependent. 30 years in jail. My sister's boyfriend was dared to rob a gas station with a BB gun. He's now doing 8 years for armed robbery. The kicker is they offered him a plea deal that would have given him 4 years jail and then probation, and he said no. I'll take my chances with the jury. Laughing. This summer I was driving with my dad heading north around 9 p.m. There was this old Jeep with its left signal turning signal on in the other lane coming south waiting for us to go so they can turn. All of a sudden, boom, the car flips up, onto its top, rolls over twice into a ditch/woods on the side of the road. I pulled over. We ran out of the car. 1, 2, 3. The car burst into flames. I'm calling 911 and I look at the car and this teenager trying to break the windshield with a stick and he's yelling duck. No. No. My dad goes and tries to break the windshield too. More people are gathering around. This one guy tries to take a video and almost gets the shit kicked out of him. The fire department are on their way. At this point, all of the trees around the car are catching fire. They climb out the ditch because we don't know if the car will explode or not. There's nothing else that can be done until the fire department shows up. They take their sweet ass time and put the fire out. The person in the car is long gone at this point and they don't even try to get him out. So how did this all happen? Remember the guy with the stick who was trying to break the windshield? He was speeding and playing on his phone. He didn't see the Jeep until the last second, tried to swerve to avoid it and rear-ended it at an angle. The story goes on, but that's the most important bit. If you learn anything from this, don't use your phone for unnecessary shit while driving. It's irresponsible and selfish. Crack. He was a decent guy with a lovely wife and a good job in San Francisco. In less than a year he lost the job, his wife left him, and he had to straggle back to Chicago in disgrace, where he kept using for several years. When I was about 12 years old I watched my uncle destroy his life because of crack. Penn State civil engineering graduate, Penn. Well-paying state job, house, married, 3 cars, dirt bikes, toys, etc. etc. Within a year or two of smoking crack he was living in a storage unit with some guy. I won't dare even try that shit once. There was a guy I had met at a few parties in my area. We weren't friends, and I can't remember if we even ever talked to each other. Anyway, there was a party in the town over from mine that I decided to skip for some reason. Apparently, the guy that I sort of knew was trashed and wanted to drive home. Someone took his keys, so the dude goes to his car and grabs a huge Bowie-style knife, walks up to the guy who has his keys, and sinks the knife into his stomach. Unfortunately, the guy died trying to stop someone from possibly killing himself or someone else. Worked as a gas station attendant and caught someone trying to steal. Guy was obviously sloshed, could barely walk. He grabbed some chips during the 2 a.m. beer rush and shoved them in his shirt, thinking I was too busy to notice or something. I called him out and yelled at him. Told him I saw him steal and to put it back, then told him to get the duck out of my store, walk across the street, and never come back. Apparently he didn't make it very far. Passed out in the road and got ran over and killed almost immediately. Edit: I found this Topix thread of people discussing it, but the news article is 400 forward. I mean, I guess it was 10 years ago. One of the guys in the thread claims his sister found the body. I had a roommate come home one day and say, "I smoked crack today. I think I'm going to start smoking crack." Maybe not the best conscious life choice? In first grade, I was at the first Tiger Cub meeting for kids and parents interested in Cub Scouts. The parents were hearing all the boring details about dues and fundraising, etc. We were playing tag or dodgeball, and one of the kids falls on the gym floor and slides quite a ways. We all thought that was pretty fun, so we all start running and then falling on our stomachs to see how far we slide on the gym floor. One kid was way too close to the wall and slid headfirst into the wall pretty hard. His parents left with him and went to the emergency room. He was in special ed classes after that. Guy meets girl. Dates girl for a couple of weeks. Girl tells guy she cannot get pregnant. Guy believes her. Girl gets pregnant after 1 month. Guy and girl get married very shortly after baby is born. Hear less and less from them. Don't hear anything from them for a couple of weeks. Landlord finds them both dead in their apartment when checking on them. Guy murder/suicided. Girl baby died of starvation/exposure/neglect, rolling around in the blood of her parents. Less than 1 year. Opioids eventually leading to heroin. I've seen 5 or so, depending on how loosely friend is defined, of my hometown friends go from having the odds inherently set in their favor, wealthy parents, intelligent, athletic, social etc., to becoming junkies. 2 even lost their life entirely earlier this year. Slippery and quick slope to go down. It's awful. Talking to them about their recovery, only to see them relapse. I've gotten better at reaching out to those I know that have struggled, but there's only so much you can do from 1,000 miles away now that I've moved. Here in Utah a few years ago, an immature mother decided to take her daughter's side in a spat her daughter was having with one of her friends. Mom decided to Photoshop a picture of the friend's head onto a photo of a nude woman. Then she proceeded to print out 50 copies and hang them up all over the daughter's school. The police didn't care that the images were fake. They charged her as if she was posting real nude pictures of the girl. 50 individual felony counts. I wonder if that stupid woman is still in prison. Had a friend back in high school who was nice but kind of a pushover. We went to the same college, but he started drinking too much and transferred to a smaller school back home. One night he got blackout drunk and decided to drive home. He ran over 5 international students that were walking home on the side of the road, including his own roommate. Killed 3 of them instantly and hospitalized 2. He was so drunk he didn't even realize what he'd done. He woke up the next morning to the cops banging down his door. Edit: yikes, this exploded. And I got the number of deaths wrong initially. Apparently 2 made it out the hospital. And yeah, he was able to mow down all 5 without stopping. He was one of those country boys driving a big-ass pickup truck. Happily married guy I knew through work. He was cool, musician, who did volunteering for his church. Something just broke in him one day. The office rumor was his wife miscarried with their first kid, don't know. He takes a liking for prostitutes. Lots of prostitutes. His wife finds out, kicks him out. He ends up staying with a coworker for a few weeks, till he gets a paycheck. But rather than sort out his life and get a place of his own, he instead spends it all on 2 high-end escorts who he invites to his coworker's place. Coworker not happy. Coworker's wife very not happy. I had a buddy that was getting put into the back of the cop car. He was getting an underage drinking ticket. Not too big of a deal, it was a $200 fine and off your record in a few years. Then he elbowed the cop in the jaw and made him fall to the ground. That ducked up his life. I don't normally post, but this just happened a few days ago. My neighbors have been together for a few years and seemed pretty happy. They had 3 kids but didn't marry yet. One day the guy just completely loses it and accuses the girl of cheating. She wasn't, and demands to tell him with who. After some arguing he drops it, then for about a week follows her around, and she finally had enough. About 3 days ago I see him looking pissed and driving his kids somewhere, but I don't think anything of it. Turns out he drove his kids to his grandparents that day, then waited for the girl to show up at the house and they got into an argument. She said she was leaving and he pulled out a gun and shot the ground and said if she leaves he'll kill himself. She turns around and immediately hears a gunshot and a thud. The guy shot himself over nothing. Was a bouncer. Have seen guys get in drunken fights and usually did not intervene if they occur off property. Saw 2 guys one night get into a stupid brawl over nonsense and one of them hit the ground. But he never woke up. This kid went from having not a major problem in the world to becoming a felon convicted of manslaughter. By far the fastest way I have seen someone duck up their life. I used to live on a decent-sized lake. From my vantage point to the other side was probably a good 1/4 mile. I had my eye on one boat, no idea why, but I had a weird feeling. I kept watching as they got closer to shore with 3 teenage girls behind them on a tube. The driver, who was very drunk, made a correction which in turn swung the girls at high speed towards the shore and right into a steel dock. The 3 girls hit the dock at around 40 miles per hour, killing one of them on impact, putting another in a coma, which unfortunately, eventually died months later and left the survivor with permanent physical damage. Not only did this guy destroy 2 families' lives in a matter of a few seconds, he's now in prison for a life, and some spectators will never forget the sound of a human body collapsing upon contact with a steel dock, let alone the horrifying screams from their mothers. It's been a few years and I haven't touched alcohol since. Edit. I was not expecting such a response, therefore I have chosen to keep the name of the lake to myself. It's a small world and Reddit is powerful. I don't want my comment to in some weird direct, or indirect way reach any family members and spark memories. I posted with the underlying intent to spread my message about the dangers of intoxicated driving. Please stay safe and be smart. Thanks for listening to another episode of Reddit X. Subscribe and activate the notification bell so you won't miss any stories. Feel free to share your own stories below in the comments. Have a good day.